Welcome back to another Pirkei Avot text explication with me, your host, Rabbi Drew. We are now on the 11th text in the 5th chapter. We are in a series of texts that start with the number 4. We just experienced in the previous text that it said, Arba midot ba'adam, that there are 4 different types of people. Now, this 4 different types of people was at least with regards to property and possessions. This one starts off with Arba midot bedayot, that there are 4 different types of character traits of temperaments, or 4 different types of temperaments. So here we go. Here are these 4 different types of temperaments. The first of which is Noach lichos v'noach lirtzos, yatzas chara behefsedo. There, one who is easily angered. Okay, one who is, it's easy to anger that person, and hard to appease. Easy to be appeased. So one is easily angered, but also easily appeased. So they are quick to go from 0 to 60, but also to dial it back down to 0 again. It says, Yatzis char behefsedo. One's gain disappears in one's loss. Okay? Meaning the loss is obvious. The gain here is clearly referencing that they're easily appeased, but the gain of that gain is easily lost by that quick loss of the quick to anger. Now we're already getting a sense, and you can already see where this is going for the subsequent 3, that as this text positions itself, it is not keen on people getting upset, and it is interested in people being easily calmed and peaceful. Moving on to the second of these 4, kasha lichos v'kasha liratzot. So one who is difficult to become angry, or they're slow to anger, and hard to appease. Well, guess where we're going to go? Yatsa hefsedo b'scharo. So yes, it's nice that this person is very difficult to anger. It's very tough to anger this person, but it's also difficult to have them calm down. Well, it's really just sort of the inverse, the converse of that first one, because Yatsa hefsedo b'scharo, that one's loss is offset by their gain. That while it's nice, and you could say it either way, like, yes, it's not so great that they're tough to calm down, but at least they're tough to get there. Okay, neither of these situations is it really ideal. It's not great. That's a tough person. It's like, okay, that person may be easy to appease, but they're also quick to anger. And similarly, they may be slow or really difficult to anger, but it's hard for them to calm down. All right, so now we get into the final 2. The third one, kasha lichos v'noach lirtzos. One who's difficult to upset and easy to appease, chassid. They're righteous. That's wonderful. Now to the 4th and final. We're going to go in the opposite direction. Noach lichos v'kasha lirtzot. Russia. Okay? One who is easy to anger and hard to calm. They're a wicked person. They're a bad person. I don't know if they're a wicked person. It's interesting. To me, the first thing that hits me when I think about sort of these last 2, the first 2, they offset each other. They may be difficult to anger, but they're difficult to appease, and they may be quick to anger, but at least they're quick and more easily appeased. But these last 2, it seems that the descriptors of them are very extreme, because we could talk about, is someone really that pious? Maybe that someone is pious if they're hard to anger and easily appeased. I would almost say that makes them pleasant. I would almost use a different terminology rather than putting them in a particular moral valence, saying they're a pleasant person, right? And then saying for that final one that they're easily angered and hard to appease, I would say they are particularly challenging or an unpleasant person when it comes to at least for a baseline of emotional calmness. It's fascinating the way, instead of saying what I just described, and just the way I laid out of saying this one's pleasant and this one's really challenging, it's maybe overly diplomatic, that they are a tough person, right? That they are maybe not really a pleasant person to have around if they're just quickly, easily angered and hard to calm down. But to go and really ascribe a particular moral valence and saying that third one is a chassid, that they are a pious person, and that this fourth one is a wicked person, a rasha, that's pretty harsh. That's really harsh. Now, I have two comments, sort of more broadly. The first of which is that there is, I started to mention at the outset, and I think to wrap it all up, I think we can clearly say when we consider this text that this really is talking about an ideal of calmness, right? That the ideal, at least as ascribed in this text, is really going for, it's good to be calm, right? No, anger is definitely ascribed as being a bad thing. That is, anger here in this text is positioned quite negatively. This is the opposite of the good. And the good is to be appeased, is to be calm, is to be sort of like almost like an emotional equilibrium of sorts. It's good to be emotionally in equilibrium, and then being angry upsets the balance, and it's not good for other people, right? And so I think that's why we see in those first two characteristics of temperaments, I think that what we see is, okay, they're kind of choppy there. All right, maybe they're just, that's just how those people function. That they're quick. They're either quick to anger and quick to appease, or they're more slowly moving with the turbulence of their emotions. But with these last two, they sort of go in all sorts of different directions. Is someone really pious? I don't know. I mean, ascribing a certain piety and a wickedness to these final two, like I said, at first glance, it seems like an extreme moral valence, a moral judgment on these people. But at the same time, I think to develop some sympathy with the perspective, at least as it's articulated in this text, is to say that, why is someone wicked this way? What makes them wicked? When we think about the wickedness here, is that maybe it's such an extreme encumbrance upon other people in social situations that they make things difficult, they make things tough, they make things perhaps quite uncivil and uncomfortable, and upset the balance and sort of a more public interpersonal spaces. That's a possibility. I'm not really fully sure what to do with it. And then for the pious person, for that pious person, hard to upset and easily appeased, they make things more easy, more calm, and certainly beyond. Yes, it's certainly the inverse of that fourth person, the person who's difficult to appease. In that way, that this third person is perceived as someone who is calm to what's going on around them. And to some degree, it makes me think about what we experienced in the previous text. We had also a chassid and a rasha. We had a wicked and a pious person. And there, the pious person was someone who said, what's yours is yours, what's mine is yours, and what's yours is yours. That they're pleasant really for everybody. They're not upsetting anything. And here I think that they're making things peaceful and easy on everybody else in the world around them. And here, although there in that text that was not necessarily an ideal, because people still need things, here it definitely is being positioned more as an ideal, really, that this is for having peaceful interpersonal relations in the world, it is helpful to have that. So those are some comments. I want to throw in one little thing just here at the end, which is I wonder also, in thinking about the emotional equilibrium and stability, how much of this is really within a broader androcentric perspective for men, right? So I think for the sages, they're living amongst other men, they're talking to men, and how much does this really take into account the volatility of emotions? Quite unclear. So maybe that's a conversation for an entirely separate conversation, but I just wanted to include that. So that's what I got on this text, and Thank you so much for watching.